We've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt.
I don't like clowns. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Want to see something funny?
Why in our conversation do you think you need to remain anonymous?
It has been a very hard week. Personally, professionally, as I said, I live in Washington, D.C. Many of my colleagues work in this field. Starting from January 21st, so the first day of the new administration, things started to go sideways very quickly. The atmosphere of fear that was in the USAID building, which we're no longer in, the atmosphere of fear in terms of not knowing who was in the building, not knowing what their motivations were, not knowing if our emails or channels were safe, not knowing how to interpret these executive orders, right, around DEIA or administration priorities. All of that created an atmosphere of massive insecurity. Doge members, including Elon Musk, have access to not just the data within the USAID world, right, and the USAID system, which includes my personal email address, my social security number, my entire security file. My information is entirely compromised, and it's in hands that I don't trust. What is absolutely clear to me is that the methods being used to achieve this so-called efficiency, not only do they not seem to be vetted and approved by the President of the United States or our Secretary Marco Rubio, they're entirely the actions of a rogue few individuals. They're dangerous, they're illegal, they're cruel more than anything. To be vilified by a billionaire who has decided that he's unilaterally going to take help away from the poorest people in the world, and he's doing it on behalf of the American people, is particularly gross and horrifying, and I am angry, I am sad, I am devastated for my colleagues, for myself, for my family, and for the American people.
That is one big pile of shit. You will remember to wash your hands before you eat anything.
A large, unelected bureaucracy.
The head of Doge, Elon Musk, called USAID a criminal organization and added that it is time for it to die. Do you agree with that?
Let me walk you through the history of this agency. It was created as a way of doing humanitarian assistance in the world, separate from the State Department at the time. But it said you have to take policy direction from the Secretary of State, the National Security Council, the White House, and all elements of government. They have basically evolved into an agency that believes that they're not even a U.S. government agency, that they are a global charity, that they take the taxpayer money and they spend it as a global charity, irrespective of whether it is in the national interest or not in the national interest. So they just don't consider that they work for the U.S. They just think they're a global entity and that their master is the globe and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable. The President put a pause on all foreign aid. We go to USAID, which is a big chunk of foreign aid, $40 billion or so. They're completely uncooperative. They won't tell you what the programs are. They refuse to answer questions. They try to push through payments. Even after the executive order, they were still trying to push money through the system.
Can it be reformed, or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone, we work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator, and we're going to go through the same process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department. This is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do that makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department, or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding, or that we have a lot of questions about, but they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
Like their government employees being activists.
The mentally unstable.
Wasting your money.
We have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. We've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. It's like it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about $30 million?
Right.
Etc.
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But there seems to be mysteriously they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from?
Enriching
themselves
at taxpayers' expense.
I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap.
Hey everybody, Congressman Brian Mast here, just replying to my Democrat colleagues that are trying to spread misinformation saying that people are going to die and that it's just a drop in the bucket of the U.S. budget with what USAID is doing, and we shouldn't be concerned about it. And they weren't really doing anything bad with what's going on in making USAID and the State Department actually answer for the things that they were spending. So let's go through what they were actually spending on. $15 million for condoms to the Taliban through USAID. I don't think anybody's going to die because we don't give the Taliban any more condoms. $446,000 to promote atheism in Nepal through the State Department. $1 million to support labor unions in the Sudan through the State Department. $1 million to unionize gig workers in Brazil through the State Department. $1 million to boost French-speaking LGBTQ groups in West and Central Africa through the State Department. I don't think that's saving lives. $14 million in cash vouchers for migrants at the southern border through the State Department. $20,600 for drag shows in Ecuador, again through the State Department. I've got some videos of other drag shows that were going on funded directly by USAID. I don't think that's life-saving for the Venezuelans that they were teaching how to do drag shows. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. We're looking forward to getting you the video for that. $24,000 for an arts envoy program to Argentina to celebrate Pride Month. $32,000 for an LGBTQ-centered comic book in Peru. I've got a copy of that one. $55,000 for a climate change presentation warning about the impact of climate change in Argentina. But get this, it had to be led by female and LGBT journalists, not anybody else. It had to be that. Again, more DEI.
The right to marry who or what we want.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope.
being LGBTQ in the Caribbean. That was through USAID. $80,000 for an LGBT community center in Bratislava, Slovakia through the State Department. $3+ million to help Tunisian migrants readjust to life in their home country of Tunisia after deportation. $16,000 to foster a united and equal queer feminist discourse in Albanian society. $10,000 to pressure Lithuanian corporations to promote DEI values. $8,000 to promote DEI among LGBTQ groups in Cyprus.
This is bullshit. This is bullshit. I'm not paying for this.
$8,000 to organize and host an American DEI workshop in North Macedonia. $12,000 for DEI training in NATO headquarters in Brussels through USAID. $2 million to strengthen LGBTQ in the Western Balkans through USAID. $1.5 million to promote job opportunities for LGBTQ individuals in Serbia through USAID. $70,000 to create U.S.-Irish musical to promote DEI in Ireland. Another $85,000 to put it on an event showing American DEI initiatives in Ireland, and $60,000 to fund a sports center DEI program in the Netherlands, $50,000 to educate Polish youth on how to be LGBTQ allies in Poland, $40,000 to host seminars in the Edinburgh International Book Festival on gender identity and racial equality through the State Department, $350 million to build that pier in Gaza, you all remember that, so that terrorists could get a hot lunch through USAID. $425,000 so that Indonesian coffee companies could become more gender-friendly through USAID. $10,000 to fund peanut butter production and marketing in Zimbabwe. Shall I go on? Because we've got hundreds more of these that we could list on and on and on and on. And Democrats, you might be saying, oh, this is just a drop in the bucket, but this is a state of waste. It is a wasteful, every one of those, a wasteful drop in the bucket that no American worker deserves to have their dollars going to these things. And until these things are answered for and everything else that they were doing, because this is just the tip of the iceberg, is uncovered, we're going to make sure that we're digging through state, digging through USAID, not letting those answers be deleted, those servers be washed, those other ways that they were looking to hide this information, not going to let that take place.
Get after them!
Expose them.
Hold them accountable.
Would you like a treat?
Hello. Can I help you?
What is in your mouth?
It is a messed up world.